Hey folks, Studio here. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the Week 3 LCS matches. Week 4, starting on Wednesday this week. So normally we have Thursday and Friday, 4 matches on each day, so a total of 8 matches for the week. This week though, we got 12 on Wednesday, 4 on Thursday, 4 on Friday, so 20 matches just for North America. I believe there's 20 matches in Europe as well, so about 40 competitive League of Legends matches in 6 days? 5 days. 5 days. So that'll be fun, to say the least. But if you've never watched this before, I'm going to go ahead and look at some clips from the past LCS matches, break them down, talk about what I think the teams are going through, what we'll see them try to improve on, and mistakes that they might keep on making. Now, let's go ahead and look at some of the matches from this week. So, we started off with Vulcan versus Counterlogic Gaming. Now, Vulcan, what were they going off of? They were going off getting their asses kicked. There is no doubt about it. I think they were 0-6, 0-5, just a horrendous score. And in LCS, it's very, very easy to get into a position where you're not top 4. Because let's say the top 4, they should have more wins and losses, most likely. If that's the case, then Vulcan, they're almost getting to a point where it's just unlikely that they would have a chance at top 4. But they did okay this week. Their first game was versus CLG, as I just said. And how'd it go? Well, here's a clip to show you kind of how it went. Now, Vulcan, their mechanical skills are really good. They are amazing players. Mandatory Cloud was an underappreciated mid laner, but he's one of the best. However, they get nerves. They clearly get nerves. Look at the Xmithy combo. Look at the Muffin Cutie combo. Xmithy runs in afterwards when there was no reason to really be in there. In the first place, Muffin Cutie misses his combo. Those are things that lose games. Those are throws. Here, they're ahead by 5,000 gold. However, Vulcan, they're able to go ahead and do a lot of neat things. I don't know if you can see it right there, top right corner. There's Psycho Sid, he lays down the goop, they kite. And this is where Vulcan really becomes a solid team. If they're playing a comp that really benefits their style, which I gotta say right now seems to be more kiting and poking. In this case, the poke comes out from Nidalee. The kiting comes out from Singe, Kog'Maw, and Alistar with their disengages. Their comp is solid. They've got one big problem though. If you look over here, not quite over here, but over here, this cannot happen. That is a blunder. At the same time, they're only human, and mistakes make the game a lot more exciting. But if you're Vulcan, I don't know if they so much need to play more and practice more. That's not the issue. I think they just need to figure out what's making them so stressed and so nervous. Now in the case of Vulcan though, they've got some great strengths, like I said, this kite comp, but also they're very good at catching players out. Here's Link. He's going to get completely demolished by Xmithy, but why did that happen? Xmithy, he's got a sweet oracles above his head. They saw they had the opportunity, they know they could burst him down quickly, and CLG got kind of demolished. Now, I'm making it sound like Vulcan is on the losing end of that. No, CLG, they lost. Vulcan outplayed them in the end, and if they can keep up their comps, the style of play that benefits them, I'd say right now, poke and kite, it really shows and they look impressive. If they get nervous though, they're an emotional team. Zuna, there's been images of him just screaming into the microphone. You see his bald head because he plays at this really weird angle, and you just see him screaming. And it's awesome as hell, but that emotion, when it goes in the negative, it trashes you. You get dunked. Now, next match is going to be Curse versus GGU. I'm actually not going into any GGU matches. Curse, they played really well. GGU, they're going through some tough shit. That's what it is right now. They hopefully will improve this week. I've heard some stuff about what they're going to do, but they've got a situation with their mid laner. I'll just break it down right now, actually. Their mid laner, Shifter, he is Canadian. So, if you're Canadian, shouts to Shifter and to you. However, if you're Shifter in America, you're not happening for 3 weeks. Shifter was detained by the border, I believe customs, before coming to America this week. The reason was he didn't have a visa. They had some problems with his visa, and it's going to take about 3 weeks to settle it. So he can't come to California to play games for 3 weeks. Now, mid lane is not someone you can replace easily. No role is easy to replace. If you're a support, if you're an AD carry, it doesn't matter. You're a tough guy to replace, but if you're a mid laner, you're everywhere. You go top lane, you go bot lane, you go to the jungle, you are the center of the team. The map, well, the mid lane is in the mid. So, losing a mid laner means you're losing a lot of that global presence, a lot of that just teamwork, because he is the guy that kind of connects everybody. And to solve the issue, they had a substitute named Fat, and they put Zion Smart in the mid lane to try and recover, and they're just too limited. They need their shifter. They might have a new substitute for the mid lane, but right now, GGU, until they get shifter back, there's really not much to say. Any game involving them is just them playing passively. We will be looking at one of their games later, though. One of the Marn games. So, going to the match after that. Going to be Dignitas versus CLG. Dignitas versus CLG, it's kind of CLG's downfall right now. This week did not benefit them very much. That's loud as hell in my ears. Let's go ahead and look at some clips, though. So CLG, the comp they're running, is this very, very protect the Kog'Maw style comp. A lot of kite, a lot of just guys that can stand between the enemy team and Kog'Maw. So if you look over here, there's Alistar to knock people back. The slow from Kog'Maw is very defensive, and then Galio ultimate, which is going to be used just to distract people, just to make sure they don't get to double lift. It's not so much the damage is nice, but if you look at Hotshot's build, he's building tanky, not for AP like you'd normally see on a Galio that's going for the burst. Now, they have a problem. CLG, I think their comp, they really don't have enough solid protection. Like, alright, they've got the big frontline damage, but it's entirely dependent on double lift. Link does a little bit of damage, and they're ahead here because they did a good job protecting D-lift, but if they get to him, this comp's completely over. Here, Crumbs is able to get the ultimate onto double lift. The fight comes out, and because double lift was being chased out by Kiwi Kid, CLG gets pretty demolished. Now, I think CLG, they're having their own issues with morale right now. This was just an off week for them. They didn't play week 2. Week 1, they did decently. They beat TSM. They beat, I want to say, Dignitas. It might have been Vulcan, but they lost to Curse. But when I say that, well, they're having moral issues. Look at this other clip. Did you see it? Top left corner, right here, right there. One more time. Hotshot GG just ulted nothing. Now, it's really easy to trash Hotshot GG there and make fun of him because that was a stupid move. That was a huge mistake, and he can't do that. But the entire team's morale was gone. The entire CLG group, the bunch, was not playing well at that point. They'd already gone from a 4,000 gold lead to being behind, and they just could not offer protection to Kog'Maw. I think CLG, they're going through a phase where they're having a down. They're a very up and down team. Very few North American teams have been consistent since Season 3 started besides Curse. Dignitas were not strong week 1. TSM, actually they're consistent. They're at about the same level every game. Unfortunately, they haven't done anything super innovative. They're kind of running the same old lots of AoE global, or lots of big scary ultimate comps. But CLG, I mean, they were pretty solid week 1. Week 3, oof. They lose to Vulcan, they lose to Dignitas. It's a hard week for them, but most of these teams tend to bounce back. A loss isn't a loss. A loss is a way to go in to get a win in the future. Now, next match is going to be Complexity versus Vulcan. I've got one clip for this. This is the only clip. This is kind of the case in a lot of the matches right now. One thing happens and the game is over. So, here we are. The bottom lane is going to be Alistar, Ezreal versus Kog'Maw, Soraka. Kog'Maw gets to lane early to just get some CS, and Soraka helps the jungler do red buff. Brunch he gets flanked by the Alistar, is forced to flash and cleanse. Here comes Muffin Cutie just retreating now, and Maya is going aggressive. Look at the damage Maya takes in this chase. And he keeps going aggressive. Zune is almost at full HP, and Maya runs in for a star call. What's going to happen? Well, Brunch doesn't have flash up. He can't get out of this. Maya gets CC down first, and bursted, which is smart on the side of Vulcan. They go for the people that are easily exposed, and they secure a kill. But this is a mentality. What do you do with Soraka level 1? You spam star call and play aggressively. However, the second that the Alistar got the flash out of Brunch, this moment right here, the lane dynamic changed. Right there. The Pulverize is going to come out. Now they have to play completely differently because they don't have any summoners up. And I think this is more of an issue of being a new team. When you're a new team, you tend to do one of two things. You never adapt, or you don't have a plan. In the case of Complexity, they didn't adapt. They had this issue last week with a dive comp on Vi. They could never get to the scary guy and survive. They would either die and the backline wouldn't do anything, or they couldn't get far enough and they'd lose because the backline first was so scary. In this case, when you play Soraka level 1, the normal way to play or in competitive play is just go ham, go do things, stars all over everybody. Just make them see the power of the knight. The problem is, they'd already lost the lane at that point. They'd already fallen far behind, and they didn't adopt their plan. This is something Complexity can change, but it takes experience, it takes time, it takes quite a bit of effort, and hopefully they can shift it. Alright, going to the next match. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? GGU versus Marn. This is the game where I said I'd show a clip. Now, I have to say this game was ass boring. This game was probably one of the least interesting games in terms of overall play. The reason is GGU, whoops, wrong button. Sorry about that. They let themselves go. Look at the overall gold. They're behind by 7,000 gold. It's a CS thing, it's a Twisted Fate thing, it's a tower thing, it's a dragon thing. They played passively. And this is not what GGU does. GGU is not a passive team. They've never been a passive team. Ever since they were Team Dynamic or Mono Esports or whatever, they have never been passive. And they just played passively this game. Marn, though, they did a good job. They took that passiveness and they just used it to get a farm advantage. It's not something I can show in one clip because all they really do is just out farm and very slowly gain an advantage. And this is something that Marn is getting much better at. Their laning phase at the start of LCS was ugh. They lost a lot of games before the 5-minute mark. Now they're getting pretty good at the laning phase. We're going to see this a little bit more in the future, but this is the first fight. Marn, they just wait till they have a big advantage and they go for it when they see an opening. Nintendo Dex goes in with the ultimate. It did not secure anybody, and guess what? You see someone exposed like this, you see someone who's burned an ultimate just trying to go in, you just turn around and kill him, which is what the case here. So good play from Marn. Marn, who, I'm going to be honest, was kind of a joke for a while. Like, nobody gave him any respect. And I'm still not going to give them that much benefit of the doubt. But they've shown that they can win a game. There was fear they would go 0-28 this season. And I'm extra harsh on Marn because they are the newest of the new kids. These are the guys that are going to be under the most scrutiny. One mistake from them is just like, I don't even know why they're here. But, you know, they won a game. They won a game against a team that is currently at their worst. But they still won that game. They're still showing that they've got strength. Their laning phase is getting good, and they just have to keep growing it. They have to keep getting better. Next match, CLG versus Complexity. The match did go to CLG. This was an interesting match. This was CLG playing a CLG style game. So, what are we watching here? We're watching a lot of Mortis, but look at the bottom right corner. Look at this mini-map. We got a dragon being done. So gold is dead even right now. And Complexity, what do they go for? They go for this tower dive. So they're trading a kill on Hotshot for a dragon. And they're gonna get Hotshot. Hotshot, no flash available, no ult available. He goes down here, but you know what? This is awesome. Because they just secured dragon. Look at the overall gold. Who's farther ahead? CLG. CLG got more out of that. They're getting a lot of CS in the lane. And if you watch the minimap, oh, a little bit too far, my bad. If you watch the minimap, right here at the end, just gonna pause, look at the creep wave. They can't even push down the turret right away on the side of Complexity. So this is an experience issue. I think Complexity, they're also suffering from the we are a new team part of LCS. Marn is kind of going through the same issue. They're looking good, they're looking solid, but they're not able to make the most out of some trades. And what happens in the end? They're ahead in kills, they're behind in gold. CLG, they did a great job this game of just making sure that any time someone died, they were making something happen for their own team. Complexity, they also have a bit of a nerve issue. So this final fight, look for the Trooper Flash. And you get what he's going for with his flash. I believe this actually might not be the fight with the Trooper Flash. I might have gone for a different clip, but this was, you know, one of those nail in the coffin team fights where you just start falling so far behind. CLG, they're behind in kills, like I said, but they just did more across the map. Complexity at this point, they're tossing out the skill shots, they're going in hard. Trooper flashes forward, doesn't get the stun on double lift, and that stun would have only hit double lift. So they just go for those big aggressive plays. And that's an issue of nerves. That's an issue where patience has run out. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to go for the big ham crazy play. Sometimes you just go YOLO, go in. But it doesn't work here. And knowing when to go in crazy, knowing when you've already essentially lost a game unless you may take that huge gambit, that is an experience issue. So Complexity, I like them, they just need a bit more time to blossom, essentially. Their team is new as well as Marn. They're both about 2 months old. I think Marn's a little bit newer than that. Brunch Club might be 3 months old. They have more experience overall in the team, but they still need some work. They still need to keep doing their thing. Now, next match, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Marn versus Vulcan. This was an interesting match, and I think this clip kind of sets it up again. If you look at the overall gold, who's ahead? Marn by a lot. That's 5,000 gold advantage. And they're going for a dragon, they're going for objectives. It's a smart play. But what really kind of hurt Marn this game was their team fight. They don't really know how to engage every team fight. Like here, they're walking towards the pit. Like before the ults even start going out. As they're walking towards the pit, look at the poke that's coming out. Skill shots are coming out, they don't even hit that many. But Marn is getting a lot of damage done to them before they get to the fight. And then, of course, because of their positioning, who is the available member for the Urgot ult? It's Xmithy or Psychosid. Both of them are tanky. Psychosid is playing Elise, who is a caster, but it's a tanky caster, so can't really go for it. And I think Heartbeat, he's getting some nerve issues himself because that flash, it's a little bit silly. Like, I get he was going for the CC, but you can't really burst down Hecarim like that. So their positioning puts them in a bad position. Hecarim gets a good ult off, and they all just kind of have to split up and get poked down, get kited down. There was a lot of criticism for Heartbeat this game for getting hit by too many skill shots, which is actually a really good thing for Vulcan because, you know, their mechanical skills did wane in that CLG game. So if they're on, they're really on. And some of it was Heartbeat getting caught out. I'm going to say that. He did get caught out way too much. But in this next clip, this is the team issue. This is Marn. They don't know when to back off, and I think they just need to learn how to set up their team fights a bit more. So here at Marn, they go for a push. Gold, it's still in Marn's favor. They're ahead 3k, or 2k. So not as big, not as scary, not as intimidating, but they still have that gold lead. Now what makes this a bad situation, they start backing off. They don't have Renekton there. And alright, Heartbeat gets caught out, but if you look at the clip, Echo was also caught out of position. The team, they have to learn when to retreat, and it's another experience thing. It could be a shot calling thing, it could be that no one is calling the shots and saying do this, do that, but I don't think that's the case. I think that Marn, they've been so kicked in the dirt this entire tournament, this entire LCS, that they need to learn how to play from ahead. You know, when you get demolished your first games, it sucks and you feel bad. But Marn's a special case where they also don't have that much experience outside of, you know, beating worse teams. So knowing the fact that, well, you can't go for this push right now because the entire enemy team is ready to engage on you guys, and then just taking a long time to split up, well, it doesn't really matter who gets caught. If it's Echo, if it's Heartbeat, in the end, it's just a terrible situation to be in. So that's all the matches. Let's go ahead and go through some of the teams. GGU. What is the case with GGU? They need a mid. They need their mid player. They need their shifter. They need something. I think they have a mid player lined up. It's going to be rough this week. They play a lot of games, and if they don't have their mid ready, then, you know, they're not going to do well. However, they're a team where when they get motivated, they rise quickly. So if they can amp up, if they can psych up, if they can get cocky, they need to be a cocky team, then they'll be okay. They'll be solid. Marn needs to work on something besides laning. Their laning has gotten really decent. They've stopped taking silly risks, and no one's dying super early anymore. I mean, they did well against not CLG. They did well against Vulcan. They did well against GGU. That's a good start. They can keep it up. They've got potential. They're looking better and better. I don't know if they'll make it to top 4 of LCS and not have to requalify, but they're looking like a team that will most likely requalify, which is not really the worst position. CLG, they need their stride. They need to get a little bit better at picks, and I don't know. They can't lose confidence. They can't feel like they're going to lose, or Hotshot GG will blow an ultimate on nothing. Dignitas, they're pretty good. Dignitas is getting consistent. Whatever happened week 1 seems to have disappeared. Week 2 and 3, they've gotten better and better, and they are looking like possible Curse challenger, maybe. On the subject of Curse, they're also looking awesome. We didn't even cover their game because they did so well in it. And who does that leave? Complexity. They got the learning issues. If you're gonna watch things to nitpick, watch their bot lane in competitive play. So far, their bot lane has been a little bit iffy. It's the hardest lane to consistently get down because you're dealing with 2 people, and if the other 2 people have better synergy and experience, it shows. Inside of Complexity, though, they need to make sure that no silly all-ins, that if they have a plan and it needs to change, it changes. If you see them dive once and it doesn't work, watch for them to dive again. That's what I'll go for. TSM, like I said, they're probably going to keep up their consistent comps. Lots of just big, scary ultimates that chain into each other. I'm trying to think if I forgot a team. I'm actually going to check this just to double check. Oh, Vulcan. I believe Vulcan is the one team I haven't talked about. If you're Vulcan, find your confidence, find your energy, your heart, because Vulcan is a good team. They have the potential to be one of the best teams, but they got to be consistent, and that's what North America is just really lacking right now. So this week there's a lot of games in LCS, and we're going to see a different kind of play style. When it's best of 1, people play very passively for the most part, which, holy fucking shit, 25-minute game, no kills. But because there are so many games being played, teams are more likely to loosen up. If you play 6 games in a given week, you're going to treat every game, a little bit differently. If you play only 2 games or 1 game, that 1 game matters so much. You got to play passively. Well, music is ending right at this moment. This studio, gonna say adios. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown, and I'll see you guys next week with probably a slightly varied format based off the Super Week. Adios, folks.